5 things we learned after Leeds United drew 0-0 with Newcastle. What's going on, everybody? Let me know in the comment section below. I'm up early this morning, having a little bit of a stroll around. Lovely day. Probably one of the last lovely days we're getting. Although, I have to say, I do love myself a bit of autumn. And we're getting into autumn. So that autumnal weather, don't mind it whatsoever. I'm a poet and I don't even know it. Let us know what you think in the comment section below, everybody. Check out the hard line tonight with myself and Gabe. Stick with me tomorrow for probably 2 massive streams on deadline day where Leeds United are going to have to be so active, and we're all very, very aware of that. But the 5 things we learned, I always want to know what you guys think in the comment section below as well, so make sure you do that, and let's get into it, shall we? So, number 1, it is just so obvious to every single person who watches Leeds United, and even the general audience right now who are commenting on it. You know, Neville's commented on it, Carragher's commented on it as well. You've had multiple pundits, multiple podcasts. It's blunt up front for Leeds United. It's blunt up front. Once again, it just felt like yesterday, I felt anyway, when you kind of got to that final third, Leeds United were really struggling. And I thought Newcastle, a couple of Newcastle fans agreed on the old match review earlier on, but it has to be said, I thought we were unlucky in some phases in that transitional phase from, you know, our defence to attack. I thought there was moments where we could have hurt Newcastle. You know, Nonto might have got it in a certain area, James might have got it in a certain area, and it's those wrong decisions that we used to get away with in the Championship because we would dominate the ball and we would regain possession and go again and again and again and again. And because of the sheer volume of possession, thus conjuring chances for our wide players, we'd be able to, you know, facilitate multiple chances, score multiple goals as well. We just can't do that this season. It's just not going to be a case. It's going to be rare, few and far between, and that's why we mentioned earlier on when it came to Rodrigo Muniz in particular about him outperforming his XG. Looking at someone like Liam Delap outperforming his XG. Why is that so important? Because Leeds United's quality of chances might not be that great. So you've got to score certain chances of which you're not expected to score. And Leeds drastically need help in that final third. I do worry for us throughout the season, you know, if we're not making investment in that area, because ultimately, obviously, defences are massive in keeping teams up, of course they are. But also you've got to bear in mind that it's absolutely unequivocally important that you score goals. And at this moment in time, Leeds haven't scored an open play goal in the Premier League. So something to bear in mind when it comes to the window shutting tomorrow and Leeds United getting on with business. And Farke mentioned in his post-match, didn't he, that he wants 2 more bodies in. If he's going out and saying that as well publicly, and then Leeds don't get any in, it's not a good look at all. So it is a necessity, certainty that Leeds United have to go out and get bodies tomorrow and today. Have to get them in 2 as a minimum. Okay, point 2. What else did we learn? Well, Sean Longstaff can play in midfield for Leeds United, and we saw it yesterday. What I don't want to do is almost rewrite, and I mentioned this as well on match review, rewrite what Sean Longstaff is, which is a box-to-box runner, good tackler, good in the duels on his day, but overall, I don't think Sean is going to be one of those players that you rely on in possession-heavy games, if we do have them, and to really, you know, thread the ball through and create chance after chance. That's not what he's been brought in for. But I think the on-the-ball work with Sean isn't something that's going to be desired by Leeds fans. I think it is the off-the-ball work. We mentioned this on the channel so many times, and you saw that yesterday. Off-the-ball work, the ball would get threaded into Bruno Guimaraes, Sandro Tonali, bang, Longstaff's in there, feeds it off to maybe, you know, Willie Gnonto or Dan James in advanced positions. And I thought Sean played really well. It was a terrible game of football, but in the game of football, he almost epitomised it. He was symbolic of what the game was. Rough, tough tackling, and just breaking up play, really. And neither side were really able to penetrate, which is good for Leeds United, of course. But number 3, where Leeds are at right now in terms of positioning and what we learnt yesterday. Farke can bounce back, and he did that yesterday. And I'm going to give him his credit after a bizarre press conference midweek where he was talking effectively, and I'm paraphrasing here, but we all know what he was effectively saying. that he's going to play his style of football, and that is what got Leeds United up, and this, that, and the other. And you're thinking, oh no, Daniel, don't do this. Don't go down the Russell Martin route. Do not go down the Vincent Kompany route. And he didn't do that. Yesterday he adapted. I thought went beyond their press. Immediately, you saw a ridiculously heavy press with Newcastle. Perry got the ball within 2 minutes, and there were 3 Newcastle players lined up on the edge of our box, preventing us from passing out. So was it a case of Leeds United having to go long? Because literally they couldn't play between the lines whatsoever. Maybe. And Leeds adapting, but I do think you got to give credit to Farke for this, because that is a game where he's adapted, you know, and going away to Arsenal and not adapted, that makes it even more confusing. Going away to Arsenal, not adapting against a better team away from home, yet at home against a worse team that's patched up, he adapts, which is bizarre, but it is what it is. You know, I'm happy that he learned from it. I'm happy that he went into it, and I'm happy that Daniel Farke learned, and that was the conversation all week. From the hard line to all the other bits that we're doing on the channel, can Daniel Farke learn? And he has learned, and fair play to him. He got it spot on yesterday. You knew what he was trying to do. I did think in the game we might have been able to go and nick it if he brought Okafor on, DCL and Mecha on the pitch maybe, and go to a 4-4-2. Okafor one side, Nonto the other, and Mecha and DCL through the middle. Might give Leeds a little bit more potency in attack. But it is what it is. I think settling for a point in the end was a good thing, because if we'd have been hit on transition after bringing those bodies on, we'd have all been complaining, wouldn't we? So, number 4, the position that we're in right now. I think it's key to talk about this, because this is another thing we learned after yesterday, obviously, because you know it's post-result. Leeds United after 3 games are in the top 10, which I know it doesn't sound like a lot. I know it's not amazing, and when you look at Sunderland, who've got 6 points, which is brilliant, you look at them and you go, okay, you know, well done to you. You know, the best out of the 3 at the minute. But, and there is a big but here, what I'll say is the level of teams that Leeds have faced now. We've said this multiple times on the channel. I am absolutely sure that Everton finish in the top 8. I'm sure of it. Leeds have managed to keep them to 0. You know, they've been free scoring in their other 2 games against 2 semi-decent sides, or Brighton been a very decent side, and Wolves, who are going to be involved with us, I think, at the bottom, scoring 3 goals against Wolves and beating them away from home. They couldn't beat us away from home with a very blunt attack again. And the position that Leeds United are in now, we've played Everton, Arsenal and Newcastle. That is not, you know, when you actually sit there and think about it, and I never really thought about it going into this season, but it's a minging start that. They've killed us with that start, or they could have killed us with that start, depending on how Leeds reacted to it. And coming out of that, 4 points in 9, after a bad week for Leeds United in terms of the Arsenal result, missing out on Buonanotte at the last minute, getting beaten by Sheffield Wednesday under-13s, like coming out on the other side and getting a point against Newcastle, Champions League outfit, was really important. I don't care how many players Newcastle had out, how much they needed a striker at the end of the day. Like, we literally have got our conductors in the midfield missing. You've got Ampadu missing, you've got Tanaka missing. Absolutely massive in generating anything for Leeds United, and they were featuring in the first game against Everton. Obviously, it was a very similar game to the Everton game, wasn't it, in terms of just really struggling to get anything going. But they were available in that game. We've not had them available in this game. We've had a patched up midfield, which is the most important position to fill in against Newcastle because of how good they are in midfield. They still started with Tonali, Guimaraes and Jacob Ramsey. That is a top midfield in the Premier League. It is a top midfield. So Bruno was quiet. I thought Tonali was quiet. So Leeds have done a really good job there, in my opinion, and they need to pat themselves on the back. And once again, Daniel Farke, well done. But those 3 games in particular, if outcome-wise you were to say to me at the back end, Connor, you've got 4 points out of 9, I'd have honestly bitten your hand off for that, because I'd have expected to lose against Arsenal. But the other 2, if you're able to get points out of that, that's massive. It's massive. So, but then obviously the pressure is going to be on for the next 2, because they're probably looking at games of which in at least 1 you might need to take 3 points in. But out of the promoted teams, I would say Leeds have had it doesn't mean anything, but I'd say Leeds have had the hardest run so far. I think you talk about Burnley when you look at, you know, when you look at Tottenham and Man United, but respectfully, both of those finished, what, 16th and 17th last season. We're not Man United can be like. And Leeds United have played what? Arsenal, who finished, what was it, 2nd or 3rd last season, and then they've just played Newcastle, who finished in the Champions League spot. So Leeds have definitely had the hardest run. Sunderland have had probably as much pressure on because they've had to get results early, and they've done that. But yeah, I'm hoping for more 3 points, especially if we get, you know, players through the door of which we can turn around and go, yeah, we love that one. That's a really good addition. So is that one. The difference makers, because we desperately need it. And I wanted to talk about the structure as well, and how I actually think Leeds have got the foundations there. You know, if we see Daniel being a little bit more pragmatic, which we saw at the first game of the season, then we saw him really fall flat on his face when it came to Sheffield Wednesday, obviously. And then the Arsenal game, obviously previous to that, was horrendous in terms of just how he set up and how the team performed. But you have to look at Everton and you have to look at Newcastle, and he's set up in a way, and you're looking at Leeds and you are thinking that, and this sounds mad obviously with the Arsenal game, but we set up completely wrongly in that game. But when you set up correctly with Leeds United, it's one of those where you're looking at it and thinking the structure and the framework of this midfield in particular is very good. You know, it's very good. We're in your face when the press is right, when the press is spot on, which I think it has been against Everton and Newcastle. Leeds really hurt teams, and I think at home you're seeing that the fortress of Ellen Road. We haven't conceded yet. You know, I know we've only scored 1 goal and we haven't scored from open play yet, but we haven't conceded at Ellen Road. This is the primary objective. You've got to make Ellen Road tough to come to. And you've had Everton come there, you've had Newcastle come there, and both have failed to score a goal, which is so much different. It's so much different to when we were last in the Premier League and when teams had come to Ellen Road and we just get absolutely walked over too many times. It was easy. So they're my 5 things, everybody. I will see you this evening for the hardline. Let me know what your 5 things are as well. And I will see you tonight, everybody. Let us know in the comment section below. Catch the transfer stuff tomorrow. But firstly, join me tonight with Gabe. See you soon.